Mayor Rogers Anderson swore him in this evening at 5:30 prior to this meeting beginning because he had a conflict. But I don't want to miss the opportunity for Mr. Welch to make a comment. Mr. Welch.
Thank you. Maya?
Sure.
Thank you. Well, it's a privilege and an honor to be back here and serving the students of Williamson County with you. Look forward to being a member of the team and helping advance the great work that I know this board has been doing recently. So I'm thrilled to be here. Those of you who don't know, my family, we arrived here about 13 years ago, and I think it was divine providence that brought us here to Williamson County Schools. We truly believe that. I grew up a military brat. I know if a lot of you know that. And a real easy way to confuse a military brat or get a weird look at them is just simply asking, where are you from? Get that weird look. But being here, it's always been something that I'm able to give my own children, something I never had, and that's roots in the community. So, Matthew, it's written where you place your treasures, where you place your heart. My treasures here in these schools, my children, my hours of time, my money. So my heart is here, and just very blessed to be back here with you. And for the record, Sheila, I did check with Gary, and we looked at the policy, and in terms of rookie hazing, it's cumulative years, not consecutive. So just wanted to put that up front there for you. So thank you very much.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Welch.
Thanks, sir.
Board members, if you would please record your attendance for today. This meeting is called to order. Let the record reflect that we have 11 board members present. Mr. Mitchell did send his regrets. He wishes he could be here, but he is away on business. At this time, I'd like to ask Deputy McGrail to please come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stay standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Be seated. Board members, it's good to see you. It's good to see you this evening. Our first order of business is to get me out of the seat. And in order to do that, you need to elect a school board chairman. At this point in time, I'd like to open the floor for nominations. Mr. Wimberly.
I would like to nominate Gary Anderson.
Mr. Cash.
I'd like to second that.
Are there any other nominations on the floor? There being none, I'd like to close nominations. Please, board members, record your vote. Sorry.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Mr. Anderson, congratulations. Mr. Anderson, I hope you run the rest of this meeting as efficiently as I did.
Hey, you want me to take my
Yeah, take my
thing with me? You're ready. Thank you, sir.
On your public comment, this individual has asked for number 5 to go first. So if you'll switch this.
Yeah, but he left his apartment a mess when he left here. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank my fellow board members for once again giving me this honor to serve this absolutely wonderful school district, the best pre-K through 12 district in the state of Tennessee. And I am very proud to be here, and I know you are too, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to do this again. We have a wonderful district, wonderful administration, wonderful administrators, teachers, and students and parents, and a great support from our community, and that's what makes us great. So thank you all very much, and if you're ready, we're ready to go on to nominations for the vice chair position. Mr. Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to nominate Nancy Garrett for vice chair. I believe she's going to do a fine job, and she has been out there all through the zoning issues. She just shows that her life is about kids and getting this school, keeping this school on track. So I'd just like to nominate her this year for the vice chair job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McGraw?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess we're not doing discussion right now. I would like to nominate Rick Wimberly.
Okay, we have Nancy and Rick. And Mr. Wimberly.
I really appreciate the nomination, but I would like to ask that my name be withdrawn.
Okay.
Do what?
Obviously, you didn't get together beforehand to work this out. Okay.
Thank you, though.
Thank you. All right. Any other nominations? Mr. Welch?
I'd like to second Mr. Cash's nomination.
Okay, we have a nomination and a second. Any other nominations? Okay, I see none. If we're ready to record our votes. Sure, we can discuss. Sure. I didn't see anything up there.
All right.
Ms. McGraw.
Thank you. This is not a ding against Ms. Garrett because I would vote for her all day long, but I believe there's a requirement to serve a year in our policy before serving as vice chair. I just want to make sure we are all okay with waiving that before we place votes.
Mr. Golden, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, sir. The board handbook requires the 1 year, and it's a document that you all as a board, actually many of your predecessors actually created. It's not actually in policy, but it is in the handbook that each board member receives when they come on. There has been a history off and on of that not actually happening exactly right at a year, but again, it is in your handbook.
Okay. Ms. Emerson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a conversation earlier with Mr. Golden, and one of the things that I'd like for us to think about is to create a policy around this, because this is the 3rd year we've had some concerns about this, and I think it would clarify things. I think ultimately it would make it a lot easier for us if we know what we're looking at and who's eligible and who's not. One of the things that I think would be important for that nomination is that you have served at least 1 full year in your position. My other is that, and certainly obviously we're not discussing this as a policy, but one of my other thoughts is that it's important that if you're going to be the voice of your district, you also need to be elected as a chair or co-chair on the school board. I think it's great when you're appointed, but you have not been voted as a majority to be the voice of the people that you are serving. You've been elected or selected by the county commissioners to hold that position. And I think it's important that if you're going to be acting as a voice, you need the support of the people that you're speaking for to be behind you. So I had talked to Mr. Golden about this today, that I'd like to take this to policy, and we're going to work on something and get it to our committee and work on it further. So this hopefully will become a moot point.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Golden, do you need to speak on this?
Well, the law is silent about that question, both of those questions, actually. That was something that the board had discussed, and so if it is something that the board desires to do, then policy would be the appropriate place to address it.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, see none, and if you are ready to record your votes, please do so.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Congratulations, Ms. Garrett. Would you like to say a few words? You're on.
You gotta push it again.
We might need a policy on how to use these microphones. I just want to say thank you to my board colleagues. I think you know that the Williamson County Schools are my passion, and this is one of the most important things in my life, is serving on this board. And I do have a professional background in policy creation and policy development, so I feel like this is a place that I can really serve, and I appreciate your confidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is approval of the agenda, and Dr. Looney, you indicated we needed to pull an item from the agenda this evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Item 6G needs to be pulled. We have received information from HISD that they are not in need of the buses that we were planning on sending their way. So.
Okay, so we'll be voting on the agenda as presented, minus the pulled one of 6G, approval of proposed donation for Hurricane Harvey relief to Houston. Okay, anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda? We have a motion for approval, and we have second, Ms. Emerson. Any discussion? I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes on the agenda. Voice vote? I'm sorry. All right, we do a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. I changed it, didn't I? All against, no. Okay, motion passes. All right, when we approve our agenda, we also approve the consent agenda. And with that, we approve the August 21, 2017 school board meeting minutes. We approve board policies on second reading, policy 2.805 on purchasing, policy 4.301 on interscholastic athletics, policy 4.502 family and community engagement in education programs, policy 4.600 report cards and grading systems, policy 6.311 use of parking of private motor vehicles on school property by high school students. We approved the recommendations for field trip fee requests. We approved the 2017-2018 management personnel for collaborative conferencing team. We approved the 2018-2019 calendar committee membership, and we approved the High Performing School District Flexibility Act. The next item is items for particular public interest, public comment. And this evening we have 12 people who would like to speak. I'm sorry, 13 people. We have another one on the side over here. 13 people. So we'll do 2.5 minutes. We allow up to 30 minutes for the time, so 2.5 minutes is what we'll allow per speaker. I'll call your name, and if you would please come up and state your name and your address, and then the subject you want to speak on, and then go ahead and address the board, please. First one is Donna Sava.
So Donna Sava, and I'm at 1133 Cedarview Lane. And I think I've been up here addressing you guys through my kids. I have twin boys. They're at Page High School now. We were at Trinity Elementary for 6 years. We were at Page Middle. We just took our first foray into our freshman year of high school. So I'm standing here for the intent to fund tonight. And I know we still have some sewer things that need to be worked out. And my plea for you is let's get ahead of it, because we all know the county commission has a little bit of a hard time getting ahead of things. So once we get the sewer, if we get the intent to fund to the county commission, the minute that the sewer's ready to go, we've got the funding, it's ready to go, boom, we are moving forward for our kids. We have 10 portables at Page Middle. I know I'm not there anymore. I still have lots of teacher friends that are there and back and forth across the street. And by the way, the parking at the high school, we always thought at the middle school it was bad. The high school's worse. It's terrible. Awful. Yesterday, saw a huge accident, 2 kids right in front of the high school. It was not pretty. So those roads need to get fixed, which I know is coming as soon as the bridge on Trinity Paytonsville is done and the construction needs to happen. We need the better parking lot. We need the space for the kids. We need that rerouting. We need all of that. And I know you know, and I know I've seen so many faces come out to our public meetings that we've had, our community meetings, and from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. I'm hoping that our parents have emailed you and have told you how they feel about all of this, but a lot of you have been out there numerous times for these meetings, and I want to say thank you for caring about the kids. Sometimes we feel like the redheaded stepchildren because we're all the way out there, but that's where the growth is. And that's where the traffic is, and that's where the problems are, and we just need this intent to fund to go to the county, and I promise I will drag 900 of my friends next month, and we will stand there, and we will stare them all down, and we'll get the funding. So I'm going to take 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Donna, thank you for your passion. It's catching, and you are very faithful, and I'm very excited. They are very blessed to have you, and I hope that the things that we're getting ready to do are going to be a blessing to everybody out there. You bet. Ours too.
Our next speaker is Judy Solan.
Hi, good evening. My name is Judy Solan. I live in the Willow Springs subdivision in Franklin, and I'm here to comment on school start times. Well-rested students perform better in the classroom, on the field, on the stage, and behind the wheel. We shouldn't have to choose the health and safety of one age group over another. This shouldn't be about who is the most vocal. We are all elementary parents, and we are all high school parents. It's just that some of us haven't been both yet. This is about doing the right thing. I want to commend the district's recognition of the research that shows teens are safer and healthier when they sleep more in the morning. From my personal experience with 2 teens this year, and what I hear from some other parents of teens, the extra 15 to 20 minutes has been beneficial, and that's great, but it's far from enough. And we most definitely should not go back. We tell our teens not to drive distracted. We tell them don't drink and drive, but we don't talk very much about drowsy driving. In fact, we are handing them the car keys at 7 a.m., a full hour before they should really be even awake. Or worse, I've heard of one of our high schools moving their swim practice to 5:15 in the morning, and I'm sure there's some more early morning examples. I am asking WCS to have the courage and conviction to do the right thing and fully heed the recommendations put forth by the American Academy of Pediatricians, the AMA, the CDC, and countless other esteemed medical organizations who all say start teens no earlier than 8:30 in the morning. I talked to several elementary parents at the bus stop yesterday morning. They are supportive of flipping start times as a solution. As a dad put it, if it comes down to which group should be starting earlier, it should be the younger group. It is time to give full consideration to this. I encourage you to establish a task force composed of staff, administrators, parents, students, medical professionals, and others to address the concerns of every stakeholder. We can learn from other districts. I also recommend hiring a transportation consultant with experience in optimizing routes for changing bell times. We've seen this done in other districts. And also to make sure that no student of any age has to walk to or from a bus stop in the dark. So in summary, our teens are stressed and tired. Please let's help them be at their best by allowing their still developing brains and bodies to get the sleep they need. This will take much time and effort, but working together as a community, we can get it right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Julie Cook.
Hello guys, my name is Julie Cook. I'm from Franklin High School. I'm a senior there and currently a member of the Diversity Leadership Group. And I came here to talk to you today because I am fully in support of naming the new elementary school in Brentwood, Jordan Elementary School. After Sergeant George Jordan, he was a slave here in Tennessee, picked cotton, literate, and a year after the slaves were free, he went and joined the Army. Went west and fought the Indians and saved a lot of settlers in a few battles. Because of this, the government awarded him the Congressional Medal of Honor, which is one of the top medals of bravery. And he is the only person from Williamson County to have ever been awarded this, and that is a huge honor. And I think that's very important that we recognize and honor him, and that is a great example to set for the children of education, and I think that's what Williamson County is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, Perry, and I may mess this up, McMichael? I'm sorry? We have someone else, and then Meredith goes after that. We have another person in between, then Meredith goes. Is that Perry?
Jennifer McMillan? Yeah, that's it. Jennifer.
Okay, Jennifer McMillan. I'm very sorry.
Dang shoes. Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Jennifer McMillan and I live at 1400 Knox Valley Drive in Brentwood, Tennessee. My children have all come up here through the Williamson County school system, starting with Lipscomb Elementary and now at Brentwood Middle School and Brentwood High School. I'm here tonight to support the naming of the new elementary school in Brentwood after Sergeant Jordan. And I ask that you consider naming the school in his honor. When my daughter Meredith came to me with this idea of naming the school Jordan Elementary, I must admit that I didn't understand who he was or really the significance of his life story. But after her lots of background investigation and research, she convinced me that this county, regardless of the policies discouraging naming of schools after individuals, needs to make an overture to the African American community and honor Sergeant Jordan through the naming of this school. Meredith started a petition and has received over 175 names supporting the naming of the new Jordan Elementary School. Her efforts have been written about in the media, and as a mom, I couldn't be more proud. I understand that some may have a problem because he was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for fighting Native Americans. But he served his country faithfully, learned to read and write, and to lead his men into battle. Particularly in Williamson County, where we have lots of tourism derived on those who visit the Battle of Franklin, I think we owe it to not just the African American community, but also to the community at large to consider naming the school in his honor. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Meredith Macmillan.
Hi, I'm Meredith Macmillan at 1400 Knox Valley Drive. I'm a junior at Brentwood High School and the president of the Diversity Leadership chapter there. I'm also here today because I believe this new elementary school in Brentwood should be named Jordan Elementary School, after the brave soldier who lived as a slave in Williamson County and later received the Congressional Medal of Honor for his bravery in the Army. He was a good soldier, learned to read and write, and gained the respect of those around him. While there are many brave men and women who have honored for their service and bravery in the armed forces, he is currently the first and only Williamson County native to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. I'm asking for the school board to vote in favor for Jordan Elementary. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Missy Night.
Hi, I'm Missy Night, and I'm at 9433 Coxborough Drive in Brentwood, and I'm commenting on school start times. I have got 3 kids in Williamson County schools. I've got a 2nd grader, a 6th grader, and an 11th grader. So I have felt the full impact of the time change. And overall, I'm very pleased with it. We moved here from Fairfax County in Virginia, one of the top school districts there, 5 years ago, and they have implemented later start times for high schoolers. If we still live there, our high schooler would be going to school at 8:10 in the morning. Elementary would be at 9:15, and middle school is earlier at 7:30. I feel that everyone in our household has been better rested, especially my high schooler. He has more energy now, and I'm less concerned about the possibility of him driving when he's tired behind the wheel. All 3 of my kids are in sports, and I don't feel that those have been impacted in any negative way because of the time change. It has also made the transition from elementary school to middle school easier for my 6th grader, not having to wake up so brutally early. My 2nd grader also has plenty of time to play outside after she gets home. There's plenty of daylight left, at least right now. I think 20 minutes later, it doesn't sound like much, but I think over the course of a school year, it really adds up. And I would also be in favor of flip-flopping the elementary times with the middle and the high school start times. And the biggest issue I would have with that is my older kids would not be home to watch my younger, but there's always things like SAC and things like that to help out with childcare. So thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Eva Leach. Did I say that correctly?
Hello, everyone. This will be my first time ever in this building, in this area. It's nice to meet you. My name is Eva Leach. I'm a native here at Franklin. I'm also here to comment on the George Jordan Elementary name for him. I am a descendant of George Jordan. I would not have known this if it had not been for the McLemore House. I began being a tour guide there. So in doing that, that's when I found out that I was a descendant of George Jordan. So it's personal for me, and it's a joy to see others that are excited about having that name. I'm just excited knowing that it was nominated. I hope you all do place that name up there. I know he was a great man. I've learned of his history. I've learned of his background. It's exciting. I'm nervous now, but I'm just totally excited about all the ancestries that I've learned about in my family. I just pray that you all will consider naming the school George Jordan Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mike Brown.
Thank you all. My name is Michael Brown. I'm at 2934 Churchill Lane in Thompson Station. My grandfather was John Henry Jordan. He's a tradesman, rock mason. His father, Josh Jordan, known for selling barbecue. His father before him, Perkins Jordan, trained and bred horses. His father, Joshua Jordan, born in 1799, right in Thompson Station. So this is personal. And your family, I want to thank them personally for their history lesson. But just to reiterate that, it takes a nation, it takes a lot of people to build a county and to build a nation. Diverse people from many backgrounds. So I'm thankful and I'm proud. So when I heard about this, I wasn't just proud for myself, but just proud for the people of this county to recognize what he's done. So I think George H. Jordan, that's got a nice ring to it as far as a school. But thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alma McLemore.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alma McLemore. My address is 147 Flintlock Drive in Franklin. I was born and raised here in Williamson County, and I am president of the African American Heritage Society. And I'm here to represent an organization whose mission and purpose is to help support efforts that honor, reward, appreciate African Americans who've made significant contributions and are a part of our rich history here in Williamson County. Sure, you all have heard and you all have done research on George, so I'm not going to go into detail about all of the things that he's done because we're here tonight for this and I know you've already done that. So I'm going to cut it real short. George was born in Williamson County. He was born a slave, but when he became a free man, he joined the Army, becoming a servant once again, but for his country. For his heroic and gallant actions while serving, he was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, the only recipient of that honor from Williamson County, and that's been said many times. It's a great opportunity to remember and show honor to a valiant man from Williamson County by naming the new elementary school on Split Log Road, Jordan Elementary. I also want to make a comment that there's one other school that's named after an African American in Williamson County, and it's called Charles C. Johnson Elementary. It's an elementary school, so it would be an honor to the African American community, to the entire community, because this is our community and we share and honor and things together for our community. So thank you all for allowing us to be here today, and we hope we get your support on this name. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Harvey Kruseman.
Good afternoon. My name is Harvey Kruseman. I stay at 222 Chestnut Lane here in Franklin. I'm also the past commander of American Legion Post 215, and I'm now the historian for American Legion Post 215, and also a member of the African American Heritage Society. Now, we always hear people speak of veterans and military men as heroes. George Jordan was a true certified hero. Here in Williamson County, we have a lot of veterans. And what better way to recognize the sacrifice, commitment, and the courage of a veteran than by naming a school after a veteran here in this county, the richest county in Tennessee. You heard about all over the nation, basically all over the world. So if the county could step up and mean what you say about calling veterans heroes. This is a certified hero. He was given this medal, and this is not just a medal. This is the highest medal that can be received by an Army veteran. Just think about it. And by naming an elementary school after a hero, a veteran, who put up his life, even though he didn't lose it, he went out there with the sacrifice. He didn't care. If it takes my life to save another life, that's what it's all about. So just step up, be the hero just like he was, sacrifice, and think about someone else, and let these kids know that courage, commitment, and sacrifice to your fellow human is what it's all about. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle Bewley.
Hi, my name is Michelle Bewley. I live at 9500 Nottoway Lane in Brentwood, Tennessee. And my children are in Kedmonrose Elementary School, and they actually will be going to the new elementary school off of Slitlog. And I would say that I am fully in support of naming it after George Jordan. The second issue I want to talk about is start times. I have a background in neuroscience. I have a PhD in neuroscience. I've taught college classes for many, many years. I know that the school board is aware that there are numerous scientific and medical studies about the role of adequate sleep for adolescents in terms of their academic performance, their learning, their cognition, and their attention span. There's also many studies about the increased propensity of problems with obesity as well as negative impacts on children's health. For this reason, numerous organizations have recommended that middle and high school students start no later than 8:30 in the morning. As a college professor in the sciences, I will say I have never taught a class nor administered an exam that started after 9 o'clock in the morning. And this was not by choice because I'm a morning person. The research to me is very clear that middle school and high school students need more time in the morning to both prepare for the day and also to gain sleep. One thing that's also clear is that elementary age students, my kids, aren't affected very much by early or late start times. This year, Williamson County pushed back start times by 20 minutes, and that helped middle school and high school students, but I have to say that from what I've heard from parents, it wasn't enough. I have students, or children, like I said, that are in elementary school. However, the late start time has negatively impacted my kids. And the reason I say this is because they arrive home at about 4:15 to 4:30 every day. And at that point, we have a push to get things done before they get tired at 6:30 at night. They have a early bedtime. So what I would ask for the board to consider is to flip-flop start times, to have our elementary school students start early, where their attention span is focused, and high school students to start later. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Julie Hunt.
Hello, my name is Julie Hunt. I live at 1307 Citadel Court. My visit tonight is two-pronged, and actually I didn't expect to speak, but it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. I'm definitely here to support the intent to fund for Page, and I really appreciate everything that you all as a group have done to push that forward. I know it's been a long road, and we're all looking to see some resolution. I'm also here to comment on the interscholastic athletics policy that you voted in tonight. I'm also one of the founders and the program administrator for Patriots Lacrosse, which is the boys club lacrosse team at Page High School. And the policy further clarifies that club sports are not sanctioned sports, and we all are aware of that. I think that all the schools and all the Williamson County high schools, except for 2, do have club lacrosse programs. So we're all aware that we're separate, but we do try to meet the same requirements as the school sports. All of our leaders are Tier 3 certified. We operate under whatever supervision the principals and athletic directors wish to give us. So we're trying to color within the lines on those issues. But although we're separate, we're also an important part of the Page community. We have over 30 boys over the past year that have decided to play lacrosse. So if you add up our practice times and our game times, we are providing thousands of hours of extracurricular activity and instruction at no cost to the school system. So there's definitely a benefit to club sports. Most importantly, we found several students, several players that have really found their niche. They've found their thing. They tried something new in high school, which is very commendable. And actually, we've had several students from Williamson County who have received college scholarships to play lacrosse. So although club sports are separate, they're still a very important part of the fabric of the schools. So I hope that you'll continue to support programs like ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tommy Jordan.
Good evening. Of course, by my last name, you know why I'm here. I am too a descendant of George Jordan, and just want to thank you all for the opportunity of having his name on the school here in Williamson County. I am a product of Williamson County, born and raised right here in Franklin, Tennessee, and live in Nashville now, but I'm only 15 minutes away, so we do come on a regular basis. But as Michael, my nephew, pointed out some of the line of our family, my father, John Henry Jordan, was a rock mason. As a matter of fact, if you go up and down Carter's Creek Pike out here, you will see some of his work on some of the houses that are built. The rock houses here in Franklin, he built a lot of them. And as he stated again, my grandfather, Joshua Jordan, had a barbecue establishment on Lewisburg Pike. And so we have a great history here in Franklin. My sons were educated here in Franklin, and so we would be honored if you all would name that school after our ancestor. Thank you. And my wife and I will be leaving. She had a brother that passed, so we just wanted to come and give our support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Here, our next speaker is Holley Jenkins.
Hi, I'm Holley Jenkins. I'm at 1238 Broadmoor Circle in Franklin. I'm a Page parent, and I'm here tonight to advocate for the Page community. Part of our responsibility is to seek to provide equal opportunities for all students. However, due to disparity in school facilities between Page and other schools in the county, Page students have not been given the same opportunities in academics, athletics, and the arts that other Williamson County students have been given. And to rectify this, I'm here to request 4 things from you that I believe are absolutely critical for the Page community. 1, to develop clear standards to evaluate facility needs across the county. This doesn't apply to Page alone, but Page has been the victim of a lack of long-term planning and a lack of focus on the importance of maintaining and renovating existing schools to ensure that they remain equivalent to others. The 5-year capital plan is a great start, but by itself it's not enough. At the County Commissioners meeting where funding for Franklin was discussed and then approved in full, Paul Kastner, County Commissioner, said, quote, "Franklin High is not some secondary throwaway school that we're going to shut down in 5 years. It is a centerpiece of our high school system." He also said of the Franklin project, quote, "Are we not going to fund it? I don't think so, because it's a centerpiece school." Now, to be fair, maybe he was talking in generalities and not about Williamson County specifically, and he didn't mention Page by name as the secondary throwaway school, so maybe he didn't mean Page. But if you didn't mean Page, then who? It's a huge problem when you have people responsible for allocating funds for our schools saying that schools are not equal, that some are centerpiece schools and some are throwaway schools. And they are making their decisions about who to fund not based on need or priority, but based on where the schools are physically located. And this is absolutely unacceptable. The school board's got to stand up against this idea that some schools are more worthy of funding than others, and with a united front, fight for the needs of all children in this district. I'm asking that you challenge county commissioners who equate funding necessary school projects to granting wishes. auditoriums for middle schools, facility maintenance, renovations to enhance facilities and ensure all students have equal opportunities, new schools. These are not wishes, but necessities and obligations that must be met. I don't know what the answer is, but I believe very strongly that it starts with the way you prioritize the needs and how you request the funding. We need you to be strong leaders and presenting all needs and projects as equal and counting on parents from different schools to fight against each other and articulate why they think their school's needs are more important than another school's need is not the answer. It's not a sustainable long-term plan for getting projects funded or meeting the county's most desperate needs first. It is not in the district's best interest to pit schools against each other, and it's certainly not nice. Parents in Williamson County want to work with you. We want to help advocate for getting essential needs of schools met, not just our own schools, but all schools. Help us to do that by developing clear standards to evaluate district needs, prioritize those needs appropriately, and then advocate for funding projects in the order of most desperate need first. If you did this, I don't know how you could come up with any schools who have a more desperate need for facility renovation and expansion than Page Middle and Page High School. And so to this end, I would request secondly, that you request immediate funding from the county for phase 1 of both master plans. Third, I would ask that you work out the issues and finalize full master plans for both schools. Plans that not only meet all our needs, but will also provide the Page community with facilities that are at long last equivalent to other schools in this county. And lastly, I would ask that you secure funding for the master plans in their entirety so that all work on all phases of both master plans can be completed by the start of the 2021 school year. Please go to the county at the start of the next fiscal year and get money approved to fund these plans in full.
Thank you. Time's up. Thank you. Okay, that ends our public comments section of the meeting. The next item is communications to the board. Dr. Looney, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, it's so good to see you tonight. I will be at a future meeting giving you a report on my trip, along with Ms. Cleveland's trip and some other folks. We had 90 individuals from the Chamber of Commerce go to Denver, Colorado to learn about funding for schools and growth of schools and transportation. And so it was a very informative trip, and I know that Mrs. Cleveland will join me in providing a report to the board. I would ask for Mrs. Hagan to provide the board with an email address. And before you do that, Mrs. Hagan, I'd just like to make a comment about school start times. We, as you know, we have been receiving a lot of feedback on both sides of this issue. And so we established an email, a separate email account where stakeholders can give a direct email expressing their point of view and giving us information about how it has impacted their family. I want to be clear, my intent is not to vote on whether this is a popular move or not. My intent is to collect clear and concise data. The schools are providing us with additional data, and I don't want to react due to a popularity of a decision, but I do want to make an informed decision. And so we are fully prepared to act should something be warranted. And I would ask that Mrs. Hagan provide that email in just a moment. I will say that we have received over 900 emails from concerned parents on both sides of this issue. About 60% of the emails that we received thus far are people that express dissatisfaction with the change that we've made, and the balance of those 900 expressed satisfaction or expressed some interest in flipping start times. I will say that we had a long, drawn-out debate about this topic a little bit more than a year ago, which is why, in part, what we're doing is in place this year. But Ms. Hagan, would you mind just sharing in a public forum that email address so that the listening audience, the TV audience, and the people in the audience can write that down?
Okay. The email address is starttimefeedback@wcs.edu, and start time feedback is all one word.
starttimefeedback@wcs.edu. Once again, board members, my intent is not for this to be a popularity contest and to make a recommendation based on vote, but my intent is to inform a decision at some future point in time. I would say that one of the things that we are really focusing on is, in addition to the start time satisfaction levels that we have, we continue to be challenged with bus transportation services. We have more bus drivers and more buses than last year, but we also have a lot more students than we had last year. And we lost a bus driver today, Jason, is that right?
Earlier this week.
earlier this week. We lost another bus driver earlier this week because they were spending too much time at work. And so it's just an ongoing challenge with us. So I want to make sure that the transportation issue isn't a causal factor to some of the dissatisfaction that we have with school start times. I will say, if you know anybody that's interested in being a bus driver, we provide free training. We pay individuals to be trained. You can get your CDL license right here with us, straight from a driver's license to a CDL and a bus permit. Our starting pay, get this, everybody, is $17 an hour with full benefits, and you don't have to work 40 hours a week. That's as good a commercial as I can give you. $17 an hour, full-time benefits, including medical, and you don't even have to work full-time.
Dr. Looney, I've got to add one thing. You
Please do.
You don't have to work on the weekends.
And no weekends or holidays. With that being said, I would like to call Mrs. Birdsong forward. We have a number of important recognitions to celebrate. Mrs. Birdsong.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. And actually, Dr. Looney, if I could ask you to come forward, please. We are going to start by recognizing some folks who worked with Williamson County Schools in our efforts to provide relief to those victims of Hurricane Harvey through the Tennessee Volunteers for Texas initiative. And so we have some certificates that we are going to share. And I don't believe Sheriff Long is here, Dr. Looney, but we do have a representative from the Williamson County Sheriff's Office here. So if you would come forward for us, you're going to do double duty tonight, and we appreciate that, representing the Sheriff's Department. I know Kenny's here from the Ag Expo Park. If you guys didn't see some of the photos or footage, Kenny, this is for you. And it was a well-oiled machine out there, y'all, with all of the backpacks and school supplies and such that were collected. Close to 7,000 filled backpacks were collected, not only from Williamson County Schools and Franklin Special School Districts, but what's really cool about this, from school districts from each end of the state of Tennessee and districts in between. It was just a neat thing to witness. And just so you know, those trucks have been loaded, and they will be headed out on Monday morning, we believe, right? Headed to Texas Monday morning. So, right, Kenny. All right, we also, if there is any representative from Barry's Chapel Church of Christ here. Oh, wonderful. We're so glad you're here. Thank you so much. And also from Grace Chapel Church. Is there anyone here from Grace Chapel? Wonderful. There you go. Thank you. And so volunteers from both churches actually worked that first week and manned the Ag Park with Kenny's folks and collected the supplies when people dropped them off. So it was truly a community effort. And I'm going to take y'all's picture. So. Okay, so get together. All right, we're ready. I'll take a couple. Everybody look right here and smile. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, wait, John, wait. Sorry, John from the Williamson Herald also wants your picture.
On 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. Great.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much. Mr. Cash, if I could ask you to please come forward. We now want to recognize Thompson Station Church. I don't know if anyone is here from Thompson Station Church. Okay. Again, working double duty tonight, Mr. Cash. So just so you all know, this was last week. Was it last weekend? I'm getting my weekends. Dr. Looney went, and several of our school principals went down to the church to accept this in-kind donation of $23,370. Church members, I don't know, for several years now, right, Mr. Cash, have volunteered to clean up, from landscaping to painting to all things in between that, in the schools in the southern part of our county, and really have cash? I thought that was in kind. $23,370 in cash donation to Williamson County Schools. Sorry, Mr. Cash, for messing up that cash reference. Okay, so anyway, but the efforts from the folks that volunteer to help clean up our schools, absolutely wonderful as well. So. Okay, for Williamson County and Northern Murray County Schools. So. Wow, 23,000 went to Murray County too. Very good. Well, stay right there. Don't move. I'm multitasking too. So we're going to take your picture. John, are you interested? Sure. Come on, John. Let's get a picture. All right, we ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Dr. Lee, that does not work. All right, John.
One, two, three. One more. Could y'all drop it just a little bit?
They're covering their faces. They're being bad.
Okay, good.
Very good. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Thompson Station Church. Okay, so now we are going to move into spotlights, and we have a school and we have a couple of staff spotlights tonight. So excited to recognize Nolensville Elementary School. They have received the 2017 Let's Move Active Schools National Award. And if you know anything about Nolensville Elementary School and Miss Deborah Russell, who is pictured here, she is a physical education teacher at Nolensville, and Mr. Anderson has been with our district for decades, wouldn't you say? And is well known in the area of physical education. She continues to bring in those national awards, state awards for Nolensville Elementary and for Williamson County Schools. So congratulations to them. In the area of staff spotlights, this is neat as well. This is Cassie Bates. She is from Centennial High School, and she has been selected as a 2017 American Geographical Society Geography Fellow. And not only did Cassie get this award, but this is Jessica Klaus from Fairview High School. She also has been named a Geography Fellow. And y'all, they are 2 of only 50 in the entire nation to be selected right here in Williamson County Schools. So as I always say, congratulations to our schools and to our fine staff members.
Mr. Chairman and board members, just in closing, I'd just like to reiterate my appreciation and gratitude for your leadership. The Tennessee Volunteers for Texas, it was an incredible experience to be part of. As Mrs. Birdsong said, we had school districts from all across the state as part of the TOSS organization, your leadership, and quite frankly, Sheriff Jeff Long, Mayor Anderson, the folks at Parks and Rec, the churches that were involved, everybody just pitched in, and we're helping 7,000 kids go back to school. And so if that's not incredible, I don't know what is. So thank you so much for your leadership in allowing us to make that happen. With that being said, Mr. Chairman, that completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Have any questions for Dr. Looney? Okay, next item is the board chairman's report. What I want to do is reflect on last night. Last night was the night when the colleges and universities come in to Williamson County to recruit our students. There were over 200 colleges and universities there recruiting Williamson County students. If you want to have some pride about your county and your students, go to this event and watch how they all gather around. This was packed. Getting around the mall was so was actually crowded getting around because there were so many students there and so many universities. And to see the universities work real hard to recruit our students really makes you feel good about what we're doing in Williamson County. So if you can, next year when it comes around this time of year again, put it on your calendar. If you have a rising sophomore, junior, senior, you might want to go. I've been taking my grandson since he was in 6th grade, just so he get the idea you're going to college when he's done. So just mark it on your calendar, try to get there and see it, because it is really a very awesome experience that our school district puts on. So that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions or any comments for me? Okay, thank you. The next item is unfinished business. We do not have any, and so we move to new business. The 2017-2018 school board budget intent to fund budget resolution, Page Middle School and Page High School Phase 1. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. This has been a long time coming. I would like to just say that this has actually been in the works for a long time. The board has been leading in this regard, and I do believe that we're at a turning point with our funding body, the County Commission. I believe that there's broad consensus amongst the commissioners that it's time for us to step forward together and fund our schools. I'm particularly proud of the mayor's effort to get all of the cities to contribute a portion of a proposed sales tax increase for the purpose of providing construction dollars. We haven't had enough construction dollars to go around to maintain the buildings, to upgrade the facilities, and to build the new facilities that we need. I believe that the County Commission will approve this if you move it forward, or at least I'm hopeful they will. And so with that, I do recommend approval of this intent to fund for the Page Middle School, Page High School Phase 1 plan.
Would anyone like to make a motion for that? Okay, we have a motion from Ms. McGraw. We have a second from Mr. Cash. Any discussion? Ms. Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Looney, would you please address the concept of centerpiece schools versus throwaway schools?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. I wasn't at that meeting, and I didn't personally hear that comment. I'm hopeful that comment was taken, that was either misconstrued or misinterpreted. I will tell you, I know this body's position, and I can certainly talk about the administration's position. All of our schools are on equal footing. All of our students are welcome, wanted, and worthwhile. All of these projects are important. The reality of it, and I need to explain why Page appears to be behind the other projects. We moved forward on 3 projects simultaneously, Page, Brentwood, and Franklin. However, as you know, Page has been very complicated because of the sewer issue. We have a solution to the sewer issue, but we haven't signed a sales contract on a piece of property yet, although we feel like, well, we have 2 viable options, we believe. So our intent is to pursue both the sewer and the construction simultaneously or concurrently. It should not affect the opening date, but it is a lot more complex than either the Brentwood campus or the Franklin campus for a variety of reasons, but primarily because of the sewer.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on this motion for Page Middle and Page High School funding for Phase 1? Okay, I see none. Dr. Looney, your recommendation?
I recommend approval now.
Board members, go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. Our next item is item 10B, Williamson County Government MOU in reference to the ESCO savings. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Mr. Golden can speak to specifics about this. This is the MOU that we're required to sign with the county government, who borrowed the money for us to do some retrofitting of some of our HVAC lighting systems to save energy. The theory behind this is, well, actually the research behind this is if we do these things, we can save at least this much money in utilities over time. This is the first of 3 phases. What this MOU does is it says that we will utilize all of the savings to pay for the debt to the minimum debt, to the debt payment, and anything above that we'll be able to keep within the district and utilize for like purposes.
Okay, who would like to make a motion? I saw Mr. Hoff first, and then second by Ms. Emerson. Any discussion? Okay, I see none. Dr. Looney, your recommendation then, please?
Mr. Chairman, I do recommend approval of this MOU.
Board members, go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item is the elementary and middle school name recommendations for the South Elementary and Middle School. Dr. Looney. No, you're going to. All right, we're going to be on this. I'll present it then. What has been presented as we go through a committee process as per our board policy. The naming committee collects names, has discussions, has community meetings, solicits information on names, etc., from the community and different members of the board and of the school area. With that, the committee recommends between 3 and 5 names. The committee has recommended 4 names, and they've recommended that the elementary and middle school be the same name, except the only designation being elementary or middle school, but the same one. So I'll be asking for nominations for the name for the South Elementary Middle School. Would anyone like to make a nomination for a name? If you'd go ahead and push your buttons. Mr. Cash.
Yes, on behalf of my constituents, we went through actually 4 names in this order. First was Thompson Station, elementary and middle. That would be my nomination. We did go through on the committee 3 other names. So, but my nomination would be for Thompson's Station, elementary and middle. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Mr. Golden says we do not need a second on a nomination. If you would like to, you can. We do not need a second on a recommendation. Would any other people like to nominate a name? I see none. Dr. Looney, would you like to?
Yes, sir. I'd like to formally recommend that Thompson Station Elementary and Middle School become the official school names for the new school that's being built in Thompson Station.
All right, board members, I see no one else for any discussion. If you'd go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, thank you. So we now have 2 new schools with names other than just the South Elementary Middle School, which helps construction documents, doesn't it? All right, the next item is elementary school name recommendation for the North Elementary School, and this is just an elementary school, not a middle school at this time. And the same process was conducted by the staff. Denise Goodman and Dr. Farmer represented the district and had the same type of committee meetings. And again, they could choose 3 to 5 names, and the committee has recommended 4 names for that. So we'll be taking nominations for those. And the first person, Ms. McGraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to nominate Jordan Elementary School.
All right, we have Jordan Elementary School as the first recommendation. Mr. Galbraith.
I'd like to nominate Split Log Elementary School.
Okay, we have Split Log. Are there any other nominations for names? Okay, board members, we had a lot of discussion about the process that we would utilize this evening at our work session, and so that the votes would be, everyone could vote the way they wanted to. We're going to use the voting machine a little different for this one. It's not going to be vote on one only. We're going to be able to vote for both names at the same time, but you can only vote for one. But we'll be able to look at both of the names at the same time. As I sent you the information on the process, if the first name which was given to us was Jordan Elementary School, when we vote, if you want to vote for Jordan Elementary School, you will press the green yes button, and it will show up as a yes on the board. If your choice is to vote for the second recommendation, Split Log Elementary School, that name, you will push the red button. So it's going to be totally different than what everybody's used to saying. It's either going to be, the vote is not yes or no. The vote is going to be, even though it's going to show up on the screen that way, the vote is going to be, if you want to vote for Jordan Elementary School, you're going to push the green yes button. If you want to vote for Split Log Elementary School, you will push the red or no button. We need 7 votes under Tennessee state law to get it passed, and so we'll go through this voting process. Does everybody understand where I've just gone through? Are we all good? So all right. So you're so you're going to be voting the yes button, the green button for Jordan, and the red button for Split Log. And sorry, Jay, was you still question? Was that just hanging there?
No, we just need to have a discussion, right? We've got a nomination. Okay, no, it's fine. I just want to.
Yeah.
Sound
Okay.
like we were moving right to the vote.
No. All right. So before we vote, we're open for discussions on the names. And Jay, did you want to speak on?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to give a really heartfelt thank you to everybody who came out tonight to speak on behalf of Sergeant Jordan, especially his descendants and family members and everyone, and the ladies who from Franklin and Brentwood who started this and with the petition. I guess we started this process a month ago or something, 6 weeks ago, and were it not for this process, it's fair to say that most of the people in this room, at least up on this side of the room, would have never or may never have heard the story of Sergeant Jordan. And so it's been great. It's been a great history lesson, and I really do appreciate it. I guess the process that we went through as far as the committee meeting and taking in all of the getting the community feedback and assessing all the names resulted in a very much of a almost unanimous consensus. I don't want to say it's unanimous, but consensus of Split Log Elementary School as the school, and the members of that committee were the school board representatives of the area, the county commissioners of the area, the mayor, and the principals of the schools in the area, and I think that of the people in the area, they all identify with Split Log, and they thought that it was a good representation of the school and a great name, and that's why there was such consensus. If you could have been at our meeting, like Ann said, it was the best, the easiest committee that we've ever been on, and so I think, I mean, that's the reason that I am following with everybody in that room that chose that's the way to go. And ironically, I was the one that requested Jordan Elementary School to be listed on this list for the precise reason, as several of you mentioned today, that it gives you the opportunity to come and allow him to be honored. I think our policy is that we do not name schools after people, and I think in this case, I think it's appropriate. This, while his story is touching and he's obviously a great hero to this country. You know, I was noting all the people that came up. One of them was from my district in this area, and everybody else was from Williamson County at large, which is great. But I think there are going to be other opportunities as we get the story out here. I think for us to readdress the policy, which I think has some, I think we agreed to do, I believe, at our last meeting, was to look at the policy, both for potentially what it has to say about naming, but also as it relates to the committee making recommendations to the board. So I fully support that, and I expect to see several of these people up again, and a maybe a bigger local community support for the name. But I expect to see, if I'm fortunate enough to be up here again when we're naming schools, it's going to continue to come up, and maybe one of the communities it will take hold, and it will better match our policy at the time. So again, just I love that we were able to honor him tonight, and over the publicity that it got in the papers. But I don't believe that naming the school is the right thing at this time. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cleveland.
Well, I couldn't have said it better, so I really don't have much more to say, Mr. Galbraith. He put it very well put, and I commend the work that went into this. And I had a history lesson myself, and I believe this gentleman should be recognized in some form or another and should not be forgotten. But thank you, Mr. Galbraith.
Thank you. Ms. McGraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frankly, I think the reasons that we're talking about right now is exactly why we should be naming the school after Sergeant Jordan, because for the better part of our history in this county, he has been largely ignored and forgotten, and there is no debate about him being an American war hero. You know, he fought for our country and was recognized with one of the highest honors you can receive, which is a rarity, and happens to be from here. And to be blunt, if he had been white, half the buildings in this county would probably already be named after him. But he was born a slave, and he was born in an era where we didn't recognize people who were African American and black. That's not what we have traditionally done here in this county. And I think it will mean a lot to a lot of people to do this. It will guarantee that he is recognized and remembered by students for generations who will wonder why this school is named after Sergeant George Jordan, and will learn about him beyond what's already in the state standards, which is in there and is wonderful. But I think it's a crazy practice to deny somebody a simple honor of a school being named after them when history decided that he hadn't previously been worth such an honor. And I think we have an opportunity here to do something right and correct a wrong that has been done by the lack of recognition he has gained in this community, when most of us didn't even know of his existence until this discussion, which is embarrassing to me. And yes, it would be easier to name it Split Log. Absolutely. It's not controversial. It's easy. I am not sitting in this seat to always do the easy things, and I don't think any of us are. And I think this man deserves a very simple honor of naming a school. Because I can promise you it is not easy to live in this county as a minority. I can promise you. And this will show them and those students that they are recognized and they are seen and they are important. And we honor descendants that have lived here for generations, no matter what their role has been in making this county what it is today. So I'm going to be voting for Jordan Elementary. I'm proud to do so, and I hope others join me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garrett?
Thank you. What is this specific policy reference? What is the specific statement in policy, please?
As far as what?
As far as naming a school after a person.
Jason?
Paragraph 4 of Board Policy 3.210, naming buildings and ancillary facilities, states, naming buildings and ancillary facilities after individuals is discouraged.
So it's not prohibited, but it's discouraged. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Emerson?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question, Nancy. I think it's important to clarify it, but likewise, I believe that this gentleman who exemplifies so many things that we talk about as important to the quality of a person and recognition for their life and what they stand for. I think this gentleman is very worthy to be named a Jordan Elementary School in his name. He is a Medal of Honor recipient. It is a very, very rare medal that is ever even given out, and that we have one gentleman from this county, not more than one, but one exemplary person. I think that this honor should be given to him. I also think as a teacher that to have a school that has such rich history and the opportunity to not only honor this gentleman, but also to teach kids about what makes heroes, what makes people stand out. I understand, and I can, with the elementary school being called Split Log because of location, but my heart is not there with a location. I think that this school has an opportunity to honor someone who is well deserving of this. So I will also be voting for Jordan Elementary School.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wimberly?
It's a difficult thing for me to go against a local committee and a staff recommendation. But I think I'm going to, well, I don't think I am, and I actually came prepared tonight to support Split Log. But after the presentations that we heard tonight, there is no way I could vote for anything other than Jordan. And I will say that I was sold pretty early when the students came up, and I was sold when the relatives came up. But when when you stood up, I said, no, you got my vote. So thank you all for doing that. And I guess I would say also, if people don't believe that public comment makes a difference, I'm here to tell you firsthand that it does. And thank you all for that. And Jay, and you know, I appreciate what the work you folks have done, but I'm afraid I'm just not with you this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate everything that's been said and agree on many fronts with my colleagues, and I had a lot of enthusiasm about this name initially, and my only misgiving is a fear of unintended consequences and unintentional insensitivity to Native Americans and the population there. And I would really love to see a way to honor Sergeant Jordan, and I really appreciate the discussion. As I said in the work session, it was a real opportunity to learn a lot more about him. I mean, which was everything, and to learn that he's in our state standards and that every student learns about him, and discussions tonight about you know, his medal being recovered and the opportunity to have that on display in the community, I think is an appropriate honor that I would absolutely welcome. I do see the merit in the cautionary tale of naming buildings after people, and I would hate to find us in a position in the future where we've got a committee where they've got 3 or 4 names presented, and then the discussion turns to the pros and cons of each of those names, and then you're digging into each person's history, which you know, is a potential concern that I would have, and that's my only misgiving about this, and if I'm on the wrong side of it, I would fully support the name.
Thank you. Ms. Emerson?
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I appreciate everybody's thinking about this and your reasons, but it's not in policy at this point that we are not allowed to name a building after an individual. And at this juncture, based on the fact that there may be some changes in the future, I think it's very appropriate that we take this opportunity to do what we can to honor someone who is so deserving to have a school, an elementary school, named after them.
Okay. Mr. Galbraith?
If I may ask Ms. Goodwin to share just the numbers from the committee. the committee didn't make a recommendation, but we did take, we recorded the numbers of the nomination, both the nominations and the votes that each one got in the committee itself when we went around and voted for the names.
Sure, I'm happy to share. Split log from the committee had 9. If you'll remember, we all got to say more than one. We went around. Pleasant Hill received 8 from the committee. Jordan received 5. And Eastwood received 5.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, let me review the voting process again, since this is unique. It's the first time we've done this. The first name nominated was Jordan, and as I had sent to you how we would proceed is the first name would be the green button, the second name would be the red button. So if you choose to vote for the name Jordan Elementary School, you'll be pushing the green button. If you choose to vote for split log, you'll be pushing the red button. Okay, so don't think yes and no, just think of supporting the one you want to support. Is there any other questions or comments from anybody on this? Okay, board, if you're ready to record your votes.
Your vote is 6 for Jordan Elementary School and 5 for Split Log Elementary School.
Okay, Mr. Golden, under the state law, we need 7. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, board members, as I had also sent you, if we did not have a vote of 7 votes, that we would open back up for discussion again, if you want, and take one more vote. If we do not have 7 after this, then we'll send it back to go back through our work session and bring it back next month for naming. So is there any further discussion on the naming? Mr. Galbraith.
I request we're missing one of our members, and so I would request that we reconvene the committee, since we do have the committee system, and let the committee weigh in on it one more time before I just fully support this as a community effort, and I think we deserve, considering that we're potentially about to go against such a wide consensus of the committee. I think we deserve for their voices to be heard. So,
Ms. McGraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Having served on that committee together, I mean, we didn't come out of there with any recommendation, and I would caution us using those tallies as an indication of popularity, other than you could not put split log down when we were making a choice for consideration. It's an obvious choice, and so obviously all of us picked that as one of our 3. If we had been tasked with coming forward with a recommendation, which is probably a good policy change for us to consider in the future, then we probably would have done things a little bit differently, but that was not our task. It was to come up with a list that we were all happy with, and everyone on that committee was happy with any one of these names. And if there were preferences, we never came to a group consensus about it that I felt. I certainly wasn't arguing for one over the other, because that wasn't our goal. So I wasn't trying to persuade people one way or the other on a naming committee. So I personally don't want to go back to committee, because I feel like everybody sitting there was fine under the policy, and we aren't asked to come forward with a recommendation, so we'd need to do a policy change in order to do that, I believe. And this school needs a name, and I've heard since last week's work session from my constituents who live in this area overwhelmingly that they love the name of Jordan now that they've learned more about it, because they didn't know about him, which is the whole point. And now they do, and now their students will, and future generations of students will. So I'm happy with anything on this list. I think it would be just a shame to pass on this opportunity. And I would I appreciate the desire to avoid any controversy or inadvertent offense to other groups. Trust me, I'm very sensitive to that as well. This happened hundreds of years ago, and times change, but the fact will never change that this man served his country and received a Medal of Honor for it. That is not going to change. So I do not want to go back to committee because I think we're going to find ourselves in the same situation in another month.
Thank you. Ms. Emerson?
Thank you so much for the discussion so far, but I agree, and I like that you made public the fact that these were names that everybody liked. And with that in mind, I think that we have also heard a very strong voice from our community about what they would like to see put in place, and I think it's very important that we hear that.
Mr. Cash?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, after listening to this dialogue, it's really hard to look people in the eye and not honor this man. But we had some different issues down in the South schools. There was 4 names chosen, a historical figure, but basically folks wanted the name that we nominated. I don't know how, you know, it was very hard to make a decision. And I really feel when we left 4 names, it's hard to even sit down and discuss each and every one and how people feel. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, Jay and folks, we need a policy on this for that committee to submit a name for the board to vote on. And going forward, I agree with Mr. Galbraith. We need to take this back to committee and get this all straightened out. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cleveland?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree also that we need to take this back to policy, and the reason why I feel this is because this was brought to us not too long ago, and we're just learning about Mr. Jordan, and a commendable man, but we just learned about him. And it's hard to make a decision based on information that was just presented to us, and I don't believe it's a community effort, only because it's just a presentation that was brought to us, a very good presentation, a compelling presentation. But as me personally, I love the name Jordan. I love the history of it. I'm a history buff, and I like that. But I also have to remember my position is to serve the county, the community, and I believe that if we haphazardly just name a school, not realizing that the community probably doesn't know this is even going on right now. And to name a school after a person that they're probably not even aware of what we're doing, that's, I think, what's bothering me right now, to make a decision for our community on a community school that there is no way in on it. And therefore, that's why I would like to go back to discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Welch?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I apologize for not being as aware as everyone else as the history of Sergeant Jordan, learning a lot about it tonight. Being a military man like you, obviously, Dr. Looney, we have a lot of respect for those who won Medal of Honors. I think it's the enlisted men also. Anyone who won the Medal of Honor doesn't have to salute officers, so that was always kind of a nice perk of winning it also as well. This, ironically, I think is one of the more difficult votes I've ever had. And if you kind of told me, well, the naming of an elementary school would be one of the most challenging, I would, yeah, right. But it has been a lot of ways. So I did support the naming of Jordan Elementary School tonight, and I continue to support that. But I will admit it is with misgivings. Some because I think, Casey, you made an excellent point about what are the future ramifications, what are the unintended consequences we aren't thinking of, and then also to go against what a community wants, although, Ann, I think you've made great points as well, that this isn't a kind of a definitive, it's a good indication, but not a definitive that way. Where in the county was Sergeant Jordan from? What portion? Was he from the Split Log community area or another? Okay, so not from the Split Log area he was, I'm sorry.
No. No.
He was not, okay. Right. I wonder if there's perhaps a compromise, because I think we seem to be rather deadlocked on this. I'm not in favor of it going back to committee. And Mr. Cash, I appreciate your point of view on coming back with one recommendation, one particular name. But I will tell you that was our previous policy on it, and that actually created some issues as well, in that the name would come, and then a lot of us would say, no, we're really not on board with that name. And then it became challenges kind of the same way in it. I'm wondering instead, and Dr. Looney, I'm kind of throwing you on this. This isn't fair, so I apologize, but I'm gonna do it anyway, since that's what you're paid to do, to make the decision. Is there a way that we can, even informally, make a commitment to honor this gentleman, honor him in a very public way, in a very appropriate way, even if it's not this school tonight?
Well, first, I want to say how proud I am of the students
Absolutely.
and the citizens that came forward tonight. I'm a retired Marine, and I have goosebumps about the story and about that we're having this discussion. To answer your question directly, yes, sir. If the board chooses to name the school Jordan Elementary, then obviously we'll name it that way. If the board chooses not to name it Jordan Elementary School, I think it would be a travesty for us not to honor Sergeant Jordan in some other way. So, you know, this is completely your decision, but Williamson County Schools will find a way to honor Mr. Jordan, Sergeant Jordan, whether it's through this act tonight or not. So.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Ms. Garrett?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did come tonight, and my mind was not made up on this issue. So I think we're reflecting on honoring someone from history who has an incredible record, military record and record of service. But I also think that there's an element of honoring the people who showed up to speak and who made the time and effort to be here to speak. And in reflecting on that, for the South School, I've received numerous letters requesting the Thompson Station name. But for this school, the letters I've received since the names have been out have been for Jordan instead of Split Log. So I just want to bring that perspective that it's about honoring someone from the past, but it's also about reflecting on the current citizens of the county and who makes the effort to show up to speak.
Thank you. Ms. McGraw?
Thank you. I promise this is the last time I'll talk. I just want to clarify that the area of the county where this decision is taking place and where the school is being built has been very engaged for a very long time. They did not learn about this last week. This discussion has been going on for months. They have sounded their voice since this came up, and while Split Log seemed again like an acceptable choice, once Jordan has floated to the top, people are coming forward, students are coming forward and sending emails to us, which they don't do, and they're excited about it. And I am just challenging all of us to do the hard thing here, and it's embarrassing that this is hard. I can't remember ever being this upset about anything since sitting in the seat for 2 years, because this man deserves this honor and not something that feels easier. So I just would ask you to consider it deeply, that if this was your relative or descendant, you would be standing up there fighting with every last breath to give him the honor that he has been ignored and forgotten for generations by the community at large. Not everybody, clearly, but he is at risk of being forgotten in history by this county. And this will ensure that at least for a period of time, he is cemented in so many ways, permanent and symbolic, and I think it will mean a lot. And it's a statement we need to make as people sitting in seats that we respect that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Galbraith?
If I could finish just by saying this, Sergeant Jordan's name was floated to the south side as well. I mean, it's just been an effort to, hey, let's get him somewhere. I think there's going to be a place and there's going to be a time and a place that it's going to feel right. I don't think a 7-6 or 7-5 vote necessarily says that. I think there's a point and a time where this is brought through a committee that the committee's on board and everybody is jumping for joy and naming a school and doing it the right way. We do so many things by, so many of our votes are by unanimous or very, very majority votes. When it gets down to this point, especially for something like naming a school and the community, and this is the first part of building the community around the school. I just hate for it to be in such a divisive way, and I'm done. I agree. I don't have to say anything.
Anyone else like to comment? Okay, what I had sent to you was that we would take one more vote. Is that the will of the board to take another vote on this at this time?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll go through the same process. We have two names in nomination, Jordan Elementary School and Split Log Elementary School. If you support the Jordan Elementary School, please press the green button when we vote. If you support the Split Log Elementary School name, please press the red button when we vote. Everyone understand where we are? Mm-hmm. Okay, if you are ready then to record your votes, let's do so, please.
Your vote is 7 for Jordan Elementary School, 4 for Split Log Road. Split Log Elementary.
Okay, well, we have another name for another elementary school, and that's Jordan Elementary School on the north side. So you can now put that in your documents. All right, thank you, board. Good discussions. Next item we have is declaration of surplus property. Dr. Looney?
Oh, that's the property. Board members, as we discussed in work session, there is a parcel of property at Sunset Middle School that we believe that we have no purpose or no utilization for, and it would be in the board's best interest to declare that surplus property so that we could place it out for bid with a minimum acceptable bid. With that being said, I do recommend your approval of us declaring that property surplus.
Anyone like to make a motion on this? Ms. Emerson makes the motion. Like to second it? Mr. Cash seconds the motion. Okay, any discussion on declaring the surplus property? Dr. Looney, this is your recommendation?
Yes, sir, I do recommend it.
If you go ahead and record your votes then, board.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is new business 10F, board policy on first reading, and it's policy 6.409, child abuse and neglect. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I do recommend approval of this change. This is a first reading policy, but I do recommend approval.
I'd like to make a motion for this policy on first reading. Ms. Emerson makes the motion, and we'd like to second it. Mr. Welch, second by Mr. Welch. Any discussion? Okay, I see none. Dr. Lee, this is your recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Okay, passes unanimously. Board members, that's the end of our agenda for this evening. Anyone have anything else they need to share? If not, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.